The alien ship landed in the middle of the Nevada desert on a Tuesday morning. It was silver and smooth, shaped like a teardrop that caught the sunlight and threw it back in strange colors. The humans who worked at the nearby military base saw it come down and immediately sent soldiers, scientists, and anyone who might know what to do about visitors from space. Commander Sarah Chun was the first to approach the ship. She walked slowly across the sand with her hands raised, showing she held no weapons. Behind her, 100 rifles pointed at the strange craft, ready to fire if anything went wrong. The desert wind blew dust across her boots as she stopped 10 meters from the ship and waited. A door opened in the side of the craft. No sound came from it, no hiss of air or grind of metal. It simply appeared where solid metal had been a moment before. A figure stepped out, and Sarah tried not to let her surprise show on her face. The alien was tall and thin, with 4 arms and skin that shimmered like oil on water. Its head was triangular, and its eyes were large and dark, without any white or pupil that Sarah could see. It wore something that might have been clothing or might have been part of its body. The alien raised 2 of its hands in what Sarah hoped was a peaceful gesture. "Welcome to Earth," Sarah said, keeping her voice steady. She had practiced this moment 1,000 times in her mind, but nothing had prepared her for the reality of standing before a being from another world. The alien's mouth opened, and sounds came out that made no sense to Sarah's ears. They were musical and strange, like wind chimes mixed with whale song. The alien paused, then touched something on its chest. When it spoke again, the words came out in perfect English. "I am called Seeker of the Third Moon, but you may call me Seeker. I come with news that your world must hear." Sarah nodded slowly. "I'm Commander Sarah Chun. What news do you bring?" "Your planet has been noticed," Seeker said. The alien's voice carried no emotion, but something in the way it stood suggested urgency. "The collective, which governs this region of space, has decided that Earth must join or be removed." The words hung in the air between them. Sarah felt her mouth go dry, but she forced herself to stay calm. "Removed? Your species has developed faster than expected. You split the atom. You touched your moon. You sent signals into space. These things have drawn attention." Seeker took a step closer. "The collective believes that species who can destroy themselves must either join the greater civilization or be prevented from spreading beyond their world." "And how do they prevent it?" Sarah asked, though she thought she knew the answer. "They sterilize the planet. All life is removed. It is considered a mercy to end potential suffering before it begins." Seeker's head tilted in what might have been confusion or concern. "I was sent to offer you the choice. Join the collective, follow our rules, give up your weapons and your conflicts, or face removal. You have 1 rotation of your planet to decide." Sarah felt anger rise in her chest, hot and fierce. "You're giving us 1 day to choose between slavery and death?" "The collective does not see it as slavery. They see it as peace, as order, as safety." Seeker's 4 arms moved in a gesture Sarah couldn't interpret. "I have visited 63 worlds on behalf of the collective. 41 chose to join. 22 refused. And those 22? Gone, erased. The collective does not make threats it will not carry out." Sarah stood silent for a moment, thinking. Behind her, she knew the rifles were still trained on Seeker. She knew that somewhere, military leaders were watching this conversation through cameras and listening devices. She knew the weight of humanity rested on what happened in the next few minutes. "Can I show you something?" Sarah asked. Seeker's head tilted again. "What would you show me?" "Our history. Who we are. What we've survived." Sarah gestured back toward the base. "If we only have 1 day, I want you to understand what you're asking us to give up. I have studied your broadcasts, your internet, your books and movies. I know your history. You know facts, Sarah said. But do you understand them? Do you understand what it means that we climbed from caves to cities? That we survived ice ages and plagues? That we've made terrible mistakes and learned from them? She took a step forward. Do you understand that every time someone told us we couldn't do something, we did it anyway? Seeker was quiet for a long moment. Then the alien made a sound that might have been a sigh. The collective will not change their mind. I am only a messenger. Then let me show the messenger, Sarah said. Let me show you why humanity won't bow down. Not to you, not to the collective, not to anyone. Seeker looked at Sarah with those large, dark eyes. Something passed between them, some understanding that crossed the gap between their species. Very well, the alien said. Show me. But know that one day is all you have. When this world's sun rises again, the collective will come for your answer. Sarah nodded. She turned and signaled to her team. They had one day to prepare humanity for the biggest fight it had ever faced. One day to decide if they would surrender their freedom or stand against an empire that ruled the stars. She looked back at Seeker. Follow me. You're about to learn what makes humans dangerous. Sarah led Seeker through the military base toward a conference room where screens covered every wall. Scientists and military personnel scrambled to set up displays while world leaders joined through video connections. The alien walked with a strange grace, its forearms moving in rhythm with its steps. We've been listening to space for decades, Sarah explained as they entered the room, searching for any sign that we weren't alone. And in all that time, we heard nothing. Do you know what that silence taught us? Seeker settled into a chair that had been quickly adapted for its frame. What did it teach you? That we were on our own. That no one was coming to save us. That if humanity was going to survive, we had to save ourselves. Sarah brought up images on the screens around them. Pictures of Earth from space, blue and green and beautiful. We are not a peaceful species. We fought wars over land, resources, religion, and ideas. We've done terrible things to each other. This is known to the collective, Seeker said. This is why they doubt your species can exist without destroying itself. But here's what they don't know, Sarah continued. Images flashed across the screens now, showing humans working together, building cities, curing diseases, reaching into space. Every time we've faced extinction, we've survived. Every time we've hit a wall, we've broken through it. We're stubborn, Seeker. Impossibly, frustratingly stubborn. She pulled up footage from various points in human history. Farmers working frozen ground during ice ages. Doctors fighting plagues with primitive tools. Engineers building the first aircraft while everyone said it couldn't be done. We walked out of Africa with stone tools and conquered every environment on this planet, Sarah said. Deserts that should have killed us. Mountains too high to breathe. Ice fields that stretched to the horizon. We looked at them and said, we will live here anyway. Seeker watched the images scroll past. Determination is not unique to your species. Many races refuse to accept their limitations. Then watch this. Sarah brought up footage from World War II. Factories working around the clock. Scientists racing to unlock the atom. Soldiers fighting across continents. In 6 years, we went from flying simple planes to building machines that could level cities. We invented computers. We cracked codes that were supposed to be unbreakable. We did in 6 years what should have taken 60. You developed weapons, Seeker observed. We developed everything. Medicine, engineering, communications. Yes, we built weapons, but we also built the foundations for the technology that would take us to space. Sarah leaned forward. Do you know what humans do when someone tells us we can't do something? When someone says a problem is impossible to solve, what do? We take it as a challenge. Sarah smiled. and there was something fierce in it. We landed on the moon because someone said we couldn't. We eradicated smallpox because everyone said it was impossible. We connected the entire world with a network of information because the task seemed too big to accomplish. She brought up new images now. The International Space Station, the Large Hadron Collider, pictures of humans from every nation working together on projects that benefited all of humanity. We are not perfect, Sarah said. We still fight. We still disagree. But we've learned something important. When we work together, when we focus on a common goal, we can achieve miracles. And right now, you've given us the biggest common goal in our history. Seeker's forearms moved in what might have been agitation. You believe you can fight the collective? They have ruled this region of space for 10,000 of your years. They have weapons beyond your understanding. Ships that can destroy planets. Technology that makes your most advanced computers look like children's toys. I believe we will try, Sarah said simply, because that's what humans do. We try. We fail. We learn. We try again. And we never, ever give up. You will die, Seeker said, and for the first time, emotion colored the alien's voice. Something that might have been sadness or frustration. Your species will be erased from existence. All your achievements, all your history, gone. Is your pride worth that? Sarah stood and walked to the window. Outside, the Nevada desert stretched away under a clear blue sky. Somewhere out there, people were going about their lives, unaware that their entire existence hung in the balance. It's not pride, she said quietly. It's principle. If we surrender now, if we give up our freedom without even trying to defend it, then we lose what makes us human. We become something less, something that exists at the mercy of others. She turned back to Seeker. You said you visited 63 worlds. Tell me about the ones that chose to join. Are they happy? Do they thrive? Seeker was silent for a long moment. They are safe. They are provided for. The collective ensures they have food, shelter, technology. They do not want for material needs. But are they free? Can they choose their own path? Can they explore and discover and make mistakes and learn from them? They can do what the collective allows them to do. Then they're not living, Sarah said. They're existing. And humanity didn't claw its way up from the caves just to exist. We came here to live, to dream, to reach for things we can barely imagine. She pulled up one final image on the screens. It was a picture taken by the Voyager spacecraft as it left the solar system. Looking back at Earth, the planet was a tiny dot, barely visible against the vast darkness of space. Carl Sagan, one of our greatest scientists, called that the pale blue dot, Sarah explained. He said that everyone we've ever known lived on that dot. Every human who ever existed. All our wars and achievements, our loves and losses, everything happened on that tiny speck. She looked at Seeker. And do you know what that taught us? That we're small. That the universe is vast and we're just getting started. That there's so much out there to see and learn and experience. And you want us to give that up? To stop exploring? To stop being curious and stubborn and determined? I want you to live, Seeker said, and the emotion in the alien's voice was clear now. The collective is ancient and powerful. You cannot win. Maybe not, Sarah agreed. But we'll go down fighting. And maybe, just maybe, we'll surprise you. Because that's what humans do best. We survive what should kill us. We achieve what seems impossible. We look at the universe and say, show us what you've got. We're ready. Seeker stood, all four arms spread wide. I will report what I have seen. But the collective has made their decision. When the sun rises, they will come. Then we'll be waiting, Sarah said. And Seeker? Thank you for the warning. Thank you for giving us time to prepare." The alien left the room, heading back toward its ship. Sarah watched it go, then turned to the screens where world leaders waited for her report. The world changed in those 24 hours. Every television, every radio, every screen carried the same message. Humanity had been given an ultimatum by an alien power that controlled the stars. Surrender or die. Sarah expected panic. She expected riots and chaos and the collapse of society. Instead, she watched something else happen. Something that made her throat tight and her eyes burn with pride. People went to work. They kissed their families goodbye and went to their jobs. Scientists ran to their labs. Engineers fired up their computers. Military personnel reported to their bases. Factory workers started their shifts. And everywhere, in every language, in every country, humans said the same thing. Tell us what you need. Tell us how we can help. The President of the United States spoke to Sarah through a video screen in the command center. What are our options, Commander? Realistically, we can't win a conventional fight. Their technology is thousands of years ahead of ours. But we have some advantages they might not expect. Such as? Sarah pulled up a three-dimensional display of Earth and the space around it. They think we're primitives who just learned to split the atom. They don't know about our military satellites, our missile defense systems, our nuclear arsenals. They don't know we've been preparing for threats from space for decades. We built those systems to defend against asteroids and each other. Not an alien invasion, the Secretary of Defense said from another screen. True, but we've also been broadcasting into space for almost a century. Every radio signal, every television show, every satellite transmission. They've been watching us, but we've been inadvertently teaching them too. They know our languages. They know our culture. But they don't know our capabilities because we kept our military technology classified. A general leaned forward on his scream. You think we can hurt them? I think we can make them regret underestimating us. Sarah brought up reports that have been flooding in from around the world. In the last 12 hours, every major power on Earth has mobilized. Russia has aimed its entire nuclear arsenal at the sky. China has activated satellites we didn't even know existed. The European Space Agency has reprogrammed every satellite they control. India, Pakistan, Israel, North Korea, everyone with weapons is pointing them up. That's mutually assured destruction on a planetary scale, someone said. Yes, Sarah agreed. But directed at them, not us. Every nuclear weapon on Earth, launched simultaneously at any ships that enter our atmosphere. Will it work? Maybe not, but it will send a message. The president rubbed his eyes. He looked tired but determined. What message? That we'd rather die fighting than live on our knees. That even if they can defeat us, we'll make them pay for every inch of our planet. That humanity doesn't surrender. Another screen lit up. Dr. Elizabeth Park, a physicist from MIT, spoke urgently. Commander Chun, we've been analyzing the alien ship that landed. We used every scanner we have, every piece of equipment that might tell us something about their technology. What did you find? Their shields operate on a rotating frequency. It cycles through different energy states to deflect various types of weapons. But there's a gap, a microsecond window when the frequency shifts. If we could time our weapons to hit during that gap, we could hurt them, Sarah finished. Can we do it? I've sent the frequency data to every military installation on Earth. It's not much, but it's something. A weakness in armor that seems impenetrable. Sarah felt hope flicker in her chest. Good work, Doctor. Keep analyzing. We need every advantage we can get. The night wore on. Sarah walked through the command center, watching her people work. They were tired, scared, but none of them had given up. None of them had run. They sat at their stations and did their jobs because that was what humans did. They faced the impossible and kept working. A young lieutenant approached her. "Ma'am, we're receiving transmissions from all over the world. People wanting to help. Civilians volunteering for anything we need. We've got hackers offering to attack alien systems, engineers proposing weapon designs, even kids sending drawings of battle plans." Sarah smiled despite the gravity of the situation. File everything. You never know where the next good idea will come from. As dawn approached, Sarah found herself back in the Nevada desert, standing in the same spot where she had first met Seeker. The alien ship was gone, returned to space to report to the collective. Now, she waited for the real invasion fleet to arrive. Beside her stood representatives from every major nation on Earth. They wore different uniforms, spoke different languages, represented different ideologies. But they stood together, united for perhaps the first time in human history. "Do you think they'll really come?" the Chinese general asked. "Yes," Sarah said. "They've made a decision. They'll follow through. And we'll really fight? All of us together?" Sarah looked at the people standing with her. Enemies yesterday, allies today. Yes, because today, we're not Americans or Chinese or Russian or anything else. Today, we're human. And humans don't back down. The sky began to lighten in the east. The sun crept toward the horizon, painting the desert in shades of gold and red. Sarah checked her watch. 30 seconds until the deadline expired. 30 seconds until they would learn if the collective had been bluffing or if humanity faced its final day. 15 seconds. Around the world, weapon systems armed themselves. Soldiers took their positions. Civilians huddled in shelters or stood outside, looking at the sky, refusing to hide from their fate. 5 seconds. Sarah took a deep breath and thought about her daughter, safe in a bunker somewhere. She thought about her parents, long dead. She thought about all the humans who had come before, who had fought and struggled and survived against impossible odds. The sky tore open. Not in one place, but in 100 places, 1,000 places. Ships appeared, hanging in the air like impossibly large birds of prey. They were dark and angular, covered in weapons that glowed with contained power. The invasion fleet had arrived, but humanity was ready. Every satellite in orbit turned toward the alien ships. Every missile silo opened. Every defense system locked on the targets. And Sarah raised her hand, ready to give the order that would start the greatest battle in human history. A voice crackled over the radio. Seeker's voice, transmitted from somewhere in orbit. "Last chance, humans. Surrender now. The collective offers mercy to those who submit." Sarah looked at the generals and leaders standing beside her. She saw a determination in their eyes, saw the same stubborn refusal to bow that had carried humanity from caves to the stars. She pressed the transmit button on her radio. "Tell the collective this," Sarah said, her voice clear and strong. "Humanity has survived ice ages and plagues. We've survived world wars and natural disasters. We've climbed every mountain, crossed every ocean, and reached for the stars. We are the descendants of hunters who stared down beasts 10 times their size. We are the children of explorers who crossed frozen wastelands with nothing but hope. We are humanity, and we do not surrender." She paused, then added with fierce pride, "If the collective wants Earth, tell them to come and take it. We'll be waiting." Then Sarah dropped her hand, and humanity went to war. The first missiles launched from silos across the globe, trailing fire as they climbed toward the alien ships. Sarah watched them rise, thousands of lights streaking upward like reverse shooting stars. The collective ships hung motionless, their shields shimmering as they prepared to deflect the primitive weapons of Earth. Then Dr. Park's discovery proved its worth. The missiles struck during the microsecond gaps in the shield frequencies, and 3 alien ships exploded in brilliant fireballs that lit up the dawn sky. The remaining ships scattered, breaking their perfect formation. Somewhere in orbit, alien commanders were realizing that the humans were more dangerous than they had expected. Direct hits, someone shouted in the command center. 3 ships down. But there were hundreds more. The alien fleet regrouped and returned fire. Beams of energy lanced down from orbit, striking military bases and cities. The devastation was immediate and terrible. Entire buildings vanished in bursts of light. Sarah watched the casualty reports flood in and felt her heart break, even as her resolve hardened. "Keep firing," she ordered. "Hit them with everything we have." Around the world, humanity fought back with desperate courage. Fighter jets engaged alien craft in dogfights over major cities. Submarines launched missiles from beneath the oceans. Ground forces fired every weapon they possessed at the ships that descended to the surface. It was chaos and destruction on a scale never before seen, but humanity refused to break. Sarah received a transmission from Moscow. A Russian commander, his face covered in dust and blood, reported that his forces had brought down 2 more ships using a combination of nuclear weapons and conventional missiles. Time to Dr. Park's frequency data. "They bleed," the commander said with grim satisfaction. "The bastards bleed." In Beijing, engineers had jury-rigged satellites to emit electromagnetic pulses. They fried the circuits of several alien fighters, sending them spiraling into the ocean. In Paris, a group of hackers somehow accessed an alien ship's communication system and flooded it with every virus and malware program they could create. The ship's weapons fired randomly before it crashed into the Atlantic. Human ingenuity was on full display. A farmer in Kansas used his tractor to drag a downed alien craft into a barn, where his neighbors helped him dismantle it for parts. Scientists in India reverse-engineered an alien weapon in 4 hours and built copies that actually worked. Children in Japan used drones modified with explosives to harass alien ground forces, keeping them pinned down until military units could arrive. But the cost was terrible. Cities burned. Millions died in the first hour alone. Sarah watched the reports and forced herself to keep functioning, to keep giving orders, because if she stopped to mourn, she would never start again. Seeker's voice came over the radio again. "Stop this madness. You cannot win. For every ship you destroy, we have 10 more. Surrender, and the collective will show mercy." Sarah grabbed the radio. "How many of your ships have we destroyed, Seeker? 20? 30? How many crew members have died? Because I guarantee you, the collective has never fought an enemy that cost them this much." Silence. Then Seeker spoke again, and there was something different in the alien's voice. Uncertainty. "You are killing yourselves. Your cities are in ruins. Your people are dying." "Yes," Sarah said flatly. "We're dying. But we're taking you with us. And we'll keep taking you with us until either we're all dead or you decide that conquering Earth costs too much." Another pause. Then, impossibly, Sarah heard what sounded like arguing in the background of Seeker's transmission. Multiple alien voices, speaking rapidly in their musical language. Seeker came back on the line. "The collective commanders are requesting more ships. They did not expect this level of resistance. They expected you to surrender after the first show of force." "Tell them they don't know humans very well," Sarah said. "Tell them we're just getting started." It wasn't quite true. Sarah could see the resource reports. They were running out of missiles, out of ammunition, out of everything they needed to keep fighting. But the aliens didn't need to know that. They needed to believe that humanity had infinite reserves, infinite determination, infinite capacity for violence. A new voice cut into the transmission. It was cold and mechanical, speaking English with perfect clarity. I am Fleet Commander Ziankor of the Collective. You will cease hostilities immediately, or we will sterilize your entire planet. You have 10 of your minutes to comply." Sarah looked at the screens around her, showing the devastation across Earth. She looked at the faces of the people in the command center, exhausted and scared, but still working. She thought about her daughter and everyone else hiding in bunkers, waiting to learn their fate. And she made a decision that would either save humanity or doom it forever. "No," she said simply. "Explain your refusal," Ziankor demanded. "I refuse because you're bluffing. Because you've already lost 37 ships and hundreds of crew members, and you're afraid to lose more. Because the Collective rules through intimidation, and we've proven we're not intimidated. Because every minute you fight us, we learn more about your technology and get better at killing you." Sarah stood and walked to the window, looking out at the alien ships still hovering over the desert. "But mostly, I refuse because I understand something about you now. The Collective has been in power for 10,000 years. You haven't had a real fight in all that time. You've crushed primitives and forced others to surrender through threats. You've never faced an enemy that was willing to die just to hurt you." She turned back to the radio. "We're not like the other 63 species you've encountered. We're humans. We've been fighting each other for our entire history. We know war. We understand sacrifice. And we will fight you to the last person if that's what it takes to remain free." The silence stretched for what felt like an eternity. Sarah waited, her heart pounding. Around the world, weapons stayed locked on targets. Humanity held its collective breath. Finally, Ziankor spoke again. "You would truly fight to extinction? You would sacrifice your entire species rather than accept peace?" "It wouldn't be peace," Sarah said. "It would be servitude. And yes, we would rather die free than live as slaves. That's what makes us human." More silence. Then Seeker's voice, not Zunkor's. "The fleet commanders are arguing. This has never happened before. The Collective has never retreated from a primitive world. But they are counting the cost. 37 ships. Hundreds of crew. And you show no signs of stopping." "We won't stop," Sarah confirmed. "We can't. Because if we stop now, if we give up, then every human who died today died for nothing. Their sacrifice means we keep fighting. Their deaths fuel our determination." A new sensation filled the command center. People were standing, looking at their screens in disbelief. Sarah checked her displays and felt hope surge through her. The alien ships were ascending. Not all of them, but many. They were pulling back, moving toward orbit. Some fired parting shots, but others simply left, abandoning the battle. Seeker's voice came through one last time. "You have proven your point, humans. The Collective will withdraw. But know this, you have made a powerful enemy today, and you have lost much." "We've lost everything," Sarah said quietly, "except our freedom. And that's worth any price." The last alien ship vanished into the sky. Across the Earth, people emerged from shelters and looked up at the clearing sky. They saw the destruction around them, the burning cities and cratered landscapes. They counted their dead, mourned their losses, and began the impossible task of rebuilding. Sarah sat down at her station, suddenly exhausted. The president appeared on her screen, tears running down his face. "We did it. We actually did it." "We survived," Sarah corrected. "Now comes the hard part. We have to rebuild. We have to prepare for the possibility that they'll come back. And we have to do it together, all of humanity working toward the same goal." But even as she spoke, Sarah felt something she hadn't felt in days: pride. Because humanity had faced the impossible and refused to bow. They had stared at extinction and said no. They had shown the universe what humans were made of. In the Nevada desert, Sarah watched the sun rise fully above the horizon. It was the dawn of a new age, one where humanity knew they weren't alone in the universe, where they knew that threats existed beyond their world. But it was also a dawn that humanity had earned through courage and sacrifice and sheer, stubborn determination. Somewhere in space, the collective fleet retreated. And somewhere in that fleet, Seeker looked back at the small blue planet and wondered if the collective had made a terrible mistake by trying to conquer humanity. Because now the humans knew they could fight back. Now they knew they could win. And nothing in the universe was more dangerous than humans who believed they were capable of anything.